What do you call Berethi? A medical college professor who rejects favoritism amongst her students based on their rich parents. She slaps the hungover student once at her class, then twice at the principal office. She's a force of nature who sends her sons to the Kashmiri Indian borders. One is the martyr of the lands, and the other is in the army serving as a captain. She raises two girls, one who's going to marry soon, and the little one whom she has adopted. Her elder son is gone, but his wife lives with her. When a vulgar man speaks about her home and the way she raised her kids, she proudly says that she has a family of soldiers. They fix her daughter's wedding date, but she has to call her son who's guarding the lands at the borders. In the Para Special Force camp, Major Ajay Krishna stands tall, strong and graceful in front of the waving Indian flag, tossing the walkie-talkie from one hand to the other and leaving the army's camp to ride the jeep. A road that overlooks the willowy trees and flowing rivers to where he's been summoned to defuse a ticking bomb. But before that, he wants a blockbuster morning coffee. Where his comrade wears a bomb suit, he doesn't bother. He cuts the wires and deactivates the bomb. In the meantime, the squad spots the masked man and chases him through the puddles and alleyways. In the end, Major Ajay shoots him in the middle of his forehead. After the successful mission, they head back to the camp where there's an annual celebrity interaction. And this year, Tamanna is coming. She calls them heroes, and at their request, they dance and have fun. In the morning, while he's playing basketball with his squad, a soldier tells Major Ajay that his mother is on the call. But it sounds wrong since he doesn't have a mother. They must have confused him with one of the newbies in the camp. He walks away and stands contemplating the glittering lights of the river. The call is from Parathi, who tells her son, Captain Ajay, that she's set the date of her daughter's wedding, and she wants him to be there for them all. But when a terrorist group called Mujahideen, under the leadership of Wasim, threatens to kill school kids, the Indian Army is left with two options. The first, to save the kids, they shall bow the head and fulfill the enemy's demand. The second option, going head-to-head against the bad guys on a rescue operation. The adrenaline rushes through Major Ajay's veins. He hits the meeting table saying that they'll take them down. And at 8 o'clock, he'll kill Wasim with a bullet in his head. Strong and united in the Army's uniforms and bulletproof vests, they head out to their destination. Major Ajay spots the guard at the balcony and signals to the soldiers to move closer. They clean the outer area, and the major slips a micro-ball spy camera into the den of the foes to find out their numbers. On his mark, the soldiers attack the ground floor men, while Major Ajay lies on a sliding skateboard shooting the men at the top floor. They put explosives to make an opening to reach the Mujahideen. The enemy's leader dares the Indian Army to show its face. He triggers them to step forward, and despite Major Ajay's warning, Captain Ajay comes out, and the bomb explodes. They take him out, while Major Ajay sprints ahead and takes the leaps. He hops and then spins in rounds until he lands inside the enemy's gathering. In a few seconds, the Indian super soldier slays this and shoots that, then punches and kicks in successive moves and combative maneuvers. When Wasim gives the signal to kill the kids, Major Ajay kills them all at 8 o'clock. The kids run happily to their mother's laps. Innocent lives have been saved, yet Captain Ajay's life is on the brink of death. His family's photo falls from his hand. In the intensive care unit, he is battling to live the happiness of his sister's big day, the bride-to-be. But the supervising doctor tells Major Ajay that chances are he won't make it through to life. The Army staff gather at the office of General Murali Sharma, who updates them on the current situation. Captain Ajay descends from a great family that sacrificed a son for the country. Before the rescue operation, he requested a 10-day leave for his sister's wedding. Now, the least they can do for them is send someone who spends the celebratory days with them. Then, at the right time, tells them the news. There's no other way around. Major Ajay steps forward and takes the responsibility of conveying the message and chooses his senior comrade, Prasad, to be his right hand on the trip to the city of Kurnool, where the Indian version of the Colosseum, Konda Reddy Fort, stands with aromatic ego and dignity. In the same city where a mansion with an interior that resembles the king's landing palace in the Game of Thrones, only here, the minister Yedula Nagendra walks down the stairs with religious chanting and a bill in his hand. He scoffs at his school days teacher and his outdated principles in life, thinking that he should slit his throat or leave him tied with fears and worries. But one of his men tells him that there's a protest against him at the famous fort's square. Minister Nagendra stops his Mercedes in front of Ramareddy, who wants to take him down. But to show him how small he is, upon his signal a bunch of thugs come in cargo vehicles. They do what they're good at, creating noise and smashing what's left of those tour buses and cars. Nagendra grabs a worn-out chair and sits wearing Lungian shirt, then eats bananas. He terrorizes the man by drawing the big picture of going against him. At nightfall, with the outage of the electricity and his men turning against him, he'll be a distorted dead body. Ramareddy learns the lesson and runs with his life because he has a family to take care of. Aboard a train to Kurnool, Sanskruti plans with her mother to escape the inevitable marriage bonding with a man that she doesn't like, of course. A man who puffs out what's inside his mouth won't be her desired match. At the station, she takes off the train and prays to the sky that she finds her soulmate. And out of the corner, Major Ajay Krishna runs to catch the train. Sanskruti thanks the sky because her prayer has been answered on the spot. He pulls her up and talks to her, but the girl seems lost in his cute and sweet features. She can't stop smiling, and when her mother sees her, she speechlessly shows her the man of her dreams. He's real. The mother puts the betel leaves in his palm, a gesture of accepting him as her son-in-law. They shake hands, which means they're half married. To complete the rituals, they look through the window, his confused face, and her overjoyed eyes. After knowing where she's coming from, Major Ajay agrees to help the girl. But when he meets the father and knows his part of the story, he leaves them with their affairs. When finally Sanskruti had found her soulmate, how come she let him go? She plots a scheme with her mother and Prasad to trap him into marrying her. But that eventuates in a total failure. Sleep doesn't find its way to Ajay's eyelids, because who knows, perhaps Prasad will stab him in the back once he closes his eyes. The morning lights break down, and the train stops at the station. Ajay thinks of changing his compartment into a safer one where those girls don't attack him during his sleep. On the other hand, Sanskruti is 100% sure from her heart that she won't leave him at all costs, even when she's chained and humiliated. But what we call humiliation, she calls it madly in love. Aboard the train's interminable journey, a gangster called Ganesh and his men team up with Sanskruti and forces Ajay into her bizarre love. It's stalking in Ajay's understanding, however. It's a lost her sanity over him kind of strong feeling from her side. The gangster throws the 5 tunnels challenge, and Ajay picks up the gauntlet. With each one of those tunnels, Ganesh becomes weaker until he loses the courage and calls Ajay his leader. Then the train stops for the Telugu song and dance in the enchanting forest. They take the rickshaw to reach Varathi's home, where they step into a chaotic situation and a latched door with a lock. They head out to the college and find out that she's been suspended 4 days ago. It seems that she's gone into thin air. A woman with a half-covered face takes the food to feed her daughters. What has happened to the one-woman army? She shushes Gayatri, the little girl, when they hear men's steps. Nagendra's gang. Bharathi hides with the girls behind a bunch of sacks. The gangsters turn their backs to leave, but when they hear a noise from behind the stacked sacks, Nagendra's man takes a long pointy iron stick and heads to the noise source. There, he sticks the iron in and out until he pierces Bharathi's palm, causing her to bleed. A dove coos nearby, and Bharathi rubs the red blood atop the white feathers of the bird. Then she lets it fly to the other side of the sack's wall. Thinking that it's the dove's blood on the iron, the bad guys leave the place. Meanwhile, Ajay checks a week's footage of the surveillance cameras, but doesn't find a clue of Barathi's whereabouts. He goes to Kurnool's police station, and when he's up to report the professor's disappearance, they don't heed him. Ajay hears the little kid telling Prasad that he hasn't seen her since a week ago. Something doesn't add up, and he must find her. Barathi intends to leave for Hyderabad, but the gangs spot her daughters. When she's back to take them to the car, she doesn't find them. The girls are being chased by horrible monsters who are disguised as human beings. How can they be saved, especially when Ajay takes the rickshaw and leaves? The little boy who has seen Barathi keeps calling, "Sir." Ajay disappears at the corner. Then he comes back. The girls reach the Kanda-ready Fort Square. There, Nagendra's henchman calls on Barathi to come out and save the girls' lives. She comes running when the thug takes the hatchet intending to kill her. Major Ajay cuts in the hatchet's weight to Barathi's head. In this critical time, he reassures her that he's her son's friend at the same military camp. She's in safe hands from now on. And in a few seconds, he breaks arms and legs and throws men over their heads. He talks about the wedding arrangement, then hops back to the brawl. When the last man falls, the sky thunders, and Ajay tells Nagendra's henchman that he should have killed him. But this is not his way, because he lives to save people's lives. At Nagendra's mansion, where he instructs his men to prepare well for tomorrow's meeting with the chief minister, his henchman shivers out of fear and tells him how Ajay knocked the men in the attacking string, and now he's after him, Nagendra. Barathi recalls how all this started. She was at her class when her uncle came in with tears in his eyes. His son killed himself, but Barathi noticed that the cut was 5 inches deep in his left wrist, and since Ravi was left-handed, then definitely this wasn't a suicide. It's a murder case. She went to the big fish, Nagendra. When he threatened her that she must withdraw Ravi's murder complaint from the police registry within 24 hours, or he'd show her what he was capable of, Barathi remained resolute that she'd speak against the wrongdoing at all costs. But the cost was unbearable. She got suspended from her job as a professor on fabricated accusations. Her daughters were harassed in public. She was taken aback by a police raid on the pretext of drug possession in her home, and the wedding was canceled because of all that. When she saw the tears in her daughter's eyes, she hurried to the police station to withdraw the complaint. She handed him the complaint paper and knelt in front of Nagendra just to save her family. But Nagendra, who is inflated from within with the God complex, doesn't accept her apology because he knows that honest people, like her, bounce back stronger and tougher. He ordered them to be razed to the ground, to the present, where Major Ajay hears her attentively. He promises her that everything will be all right, and brings the smiles back on the daughters' faces. Ajay takes her to the police station to reopen the case against Nagendra. The policeman takes his share of the kicks, then announces reopening the minister's case in the press. Then they head out to the lawyer, Mrudangaro's place, who admits that they filed wrongful cases against Barathi. Then the principal apologizes and hands her the college's rejoining letter. Last but not least, Ajay steps his firm walk inside Nagendra's mansion, but doesn't find him because he's in a meeting with the CM. Once he learns about Ajay's invasion of his home, Nagendra hurries out with the thugs. Ajay plays chess and takes the minister piece down with the pawn in his hand. Simultaneously, the minister, Nagendra, comes in. He passes by Barathi, who looks at him with a smile indicating what will come next. Barathi says that he has taken 40 men down, and his henchman is a first-hand witness to that. Nagendra gets angry from her talk and disparages her. The fight begins, and Ajay, the miraculous army soldier, makes them fall like scattered flies, while the ground cracks under the heavy bodies falling. The rest of the men retreat their steps, and Ajay sits opposing his foe. Now we're talking. In 48 hours, Nagendra must admit his mistakes and apologize to the lady as a good leader who changes people's lives for the better. Otherwise, the consequences are dire. He visits Varathi's prospective son-in-law's home and meets the father, who seems speechless that he has abandoned the girl out of fear from the state minister's cruelty. He should have stood up against the injustice instead of choosing the easy way out. For Bharathi, she only needs her life back, and Ajay makes things go back on track. One day, she asks him about his parents, and he replies that he's an orphan. The wedding preparations are in full swing, and the day comes when the ceremony begins, and Ajay represents the man of the bride's house. At night, he's that Indian soldier who guards the family. He flies the kites in the open fields and dances under the night-heavy rain. On the other hand, the corrupted minister wonders about the hidden power in the enthusiastic young soldier. But his ominous entry at the Kanda Reddy Fort Square doesn't seem right. He sits on a stool and invites Ajay to sit as well. The minister challenges Ajay's ability to go deeper and change the hearts, erase the past, stand against the manpower that has undergone the brainwashing. How can he do that? How can he go against the established powers in the city? Nonetheless, the herd of that manpower leaves the minister to his fate when Ajay cajoles them into pursuing Samantha's store opening night somewhere nearby. Ajay argues that the masses are puppets with strings. When the minister played the rage on their nerves, they reacted with violence. But when he reminded them of that soft spot inside them, they cooled down. Their leader is their convenience. How can the minister play with their intellect and free will? The fearless battlefield soldier and the mother who gave birth to such soldiers, who's in pursuit of the injustice around her. They leave him with wide-open eyes and a dropping jaw. The next day, Prasad suggests seeking the help of the crime branch officer, who happens to visit that mad Samskruti girl. He catches their housemaid red-handed and says that he won't marry a girl who loves someone else. Apparently, he's investigated her from head to toe. He takes the girl with him to change her heart, and she agrees in the hope of pursuing her train love tale in Kurnool. He sets a rule that she should hug him when she's impressed by him. Ajay and Prasad wait for him, but when they see the train-mad girl, they turn around quickly. When the girl sees Ajay's face, she exclaims out of joy, "I'm impressed," and hugs him. And when they investigate the minister's murder, Ajay solves the iPhone password riddle easily, and again the mad girl hugs him. Those hugs keep coming whenever Ajay untangles a problem. Ajay solves the mysterious murder case where 3 victims are involved: a software company employee, a banker, and a government officer. But what brings these people together in a WhatsApp group? Ajay, with his sharp mind, finds out that one of the victims is still alive. He calls the minister, who tells him that he has reached the halfway point, yet the path isn't easy on his way to the hideout of the man. In the Nalamala forest that's 90 minutes away from Kurnool, the devious minister has sent him to a forest where nobody finds the way out. Ajay breaches the man's hideout, but to untie him, he has to pass all the guarding men. They throw him up in the air, then the old man sprints up and kicks him off. These are the Indian Superman's equal rivals. Ajay tries again, but fails badly. The old man calls Nagendra, saying that he'll kill the military boy in 5 minutes. However, Bharathi has another opinion. Ajay will kill them all in 3 minutes. Ajay cracks his knuckles. Most likely, nature's power has haunted his bodily existence. With a lot of flying in the air and sliding on the ground, he knocks them down. Ajay calls Bharathi, assuring her that they're back with the witness. How will Nagendra act in such an ordeal? The witness, Ramakrishna, was a government official who used to get complaints from the common people that they were not receiving the funds that were allocated to them from the government. So he spoke to a banker whose name is Ravi and asked him to pursue the shortage in the governmental fund flow. Ravi found a huge number of bank accounts with non-existent identities. Despite that, the money was still deposited into those accounts. The investigation led them into the minister's company where the accounts were created. There, they contacted a software employee from the inside, who showed them sensitive data about the illegal activities of the minister. Since the fund is distributed online, money laundering crimes and fraud have become rampant. They found out that the minister had looted 5,000 crore Indian rupees along with people's dreams and tears. After that, they suggested meeting the minister, who appointed his guerrillas to kill 2 of them and keep the 3rd in the forest. Ramakrishna is a good citizen who says that all the upper hands are stained with the blood and tears of the commoners. He hands them the hard disk with the evidence that will convict the minister and send him behind bars. But some of the brainwashed commoners and the political leaders join the forces and become a union against Ajay. In the meantime, Ajay enters the meeting hall where all those heads turn toward him. Ajay puts the evidence file on the table and then heads toward the double doors to lock himself inside with the big guys who talk about controlling the system and people, while the soldiers' duty is to guard the borders. They shout at him, but he's completely focused on what's in his hands. At the end, Ajay tells the fable of the old man and the rat, and its resemblance with their story. He shows the bomb that he has assembled its parts, then sets the timer for 5 minutes, and sends a wave of panic among the gathering. The young soldier speaks for 4 minutes about the corruption in the country. Instead of looting money, they better work on the development of the infrastructure of the city. Ajay wraps up his speech with a paint bomb explosion that forms the country's flag. He takes the file and leaves the astonished, shrewd people behind. On the day of the wedding, Captain Ajay dies. Nobody knows about the sad news but Major Ajay and Prasad. During that, Bharathi waves goodbye to her daughter. And later on, Major Ajay manages to tell the mother about the sad news. At the headquarters of the Northern Command, they perform a military funeral to salute the departing soul. They bring the coffin wrapped in the Indian flag back to its family that salutes the land's martyr in a dignified stance. But Ajay won't rest his affairs unless he puts Nagendra in jail. After knowing that the court will send him behind bars, Ajay heads back to Kashmir. The mad girl, Sanskruti, follows him to the railway station. She confesses her love to him, and when Bharathi hears that, she tells Ajay that she's a nice girl. Finally, he agrees to marry her. After 3 months, Nagendra becomes a patriot soldier at the Kashmiri borders, because Ajay thought that instead of locking him in jail, taking him to Kashmir would bring the desired change in him and teach him to take the responsibility of defending the common people of India. In the end, Ajay marries the girl who is madly in love with him, Sanskruti. The Telugu movie shows the war between patriotism and betrayal, and the true motives behind the closed doors of the decision-makers in the country. It's directed by Anil Ravipudi and written by Anil Ravipudi and others. It stars Mahesh Babu as Major Ajay Krishna, Vijay Shanti as Bharathi, Prakash Raj as Yedula Nagendra, and Rashmika Mandana as Sanskruti. Dear viewer, please drop your thoughts in the comments below with #CinemaRecap, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Until next time, stay tuned.